Hello, my sleepy friend. How many of you have at some point wanted to trace your family history? How many wanted to see if you can uncover a secret or two, or explore the mysteries of your ancestors' past? Well, tonight's story explores one such phenomenon, and it is a phenomenon. In this fascinating journey, we will delve into the unknown and uncover some hidden truths about one such person. This story is the work of the wonderful Charlie Hudson and is originally titled Embers of the Past. So when you are quite ready to join us on this thrilling adventure as we travel through time, lie back. Take a nice deep breath and welcome to Snooze with Sam. The wind howled outside the stone cottage perched on the edge of the moor, the rain tapping outside, sliding off the roof. Inside, the hearth crackled, casting flickering shadows across the walls, which were lined with bookshelves and faded photographs. A man sat hunched over the worn notebook at a heavy oak desk, its surface scarred by time and use. Alistair Wilson traced the faded ink with his finger, the names and dates barely legible. The notebook had belonged to his grandfather, a man of few words but deep roots. Alistair had discovered it in a trunk in the attic, nestled among tartan scarves and yellowed letters. The entries were a sporadic mix of birth records, marriage dates, and cryptic notes. James Wilson, born 1823, Inverness. Circa Margaret MacLeod. Connection to Clan MacLeod? Would that be the MacLeods of Lewis or Harris? All was unclear. Alistair sighed, rubbing his temples. The more he delved into his ancestry, the more convoluted it became. Surnames shifted, locations varied, and the ties to specific clans were tenuous at best. The MacLeods were prominent in both Lewis and Harris. But which branch did he descend from? And what of the Frasers, a lowland clan with its own varied history? He poured himself a dram of whiskey, the amber liquid catching the firelight, giving it a golden glow. The antique chair beside the hearth beckoned, its tartan blanket draped over the back. Alistair settled into the chair, with the warmth of the fire seeping into his bones. He stared into the flames, the dance of the light and shadow utterly mesmerizing. The notebook lay open on his lap, the swirling script of his grandfather's hand blurring slightly in the firelight. He felt a peculiar connection to the man he barely remembered, a whisper across the decades. What secrets did this book hold? What stories were buried beneath the dry facts and fragmented queries? One entry caught his eye, a single underlined sentence. The embers of the past remember. What embers? He leafed back through the pages, searching for context, but found nothing. The embers remember. It sounded like a riddle, a cryptic clue left behind by a man who knew more than he revealed. Alistair imagined his grandfather, a reserved figure, walking the moors, his gaze fixed on some distant horizon or ancient landmark. He stood up, totally restless, and walked to the window. The storm raged on, the wind howling like a banshee, the rain battering against the glass. The moors stretched out before him, a dark and unforgiving landscape under the tempestuous sky. He could almost feel the weight of history pressing down on him, the echoes of generations past whispering in the wind. He thought about the historical ruins that surrounded the landscape, like remnants of a forgotten age. Could these be the embers his grandfather referred to? Monuments of ancient rituals, silent witnesses to the clan wars and tragedies that had shaped his family's history. Alistair returned to his desk, his heart pounding with a strange mixture of excitement and trepidation. He felt drawn to the moors, compelled to seek out these stones and uncover their secrets should they hold any. Part of him wanted to grab his heavy coat and boots, determined to venture out into the storm. His grandfather's words echoed in his mind. The embers remember. He would find out what they remembered, even if it was the last thing he did, or even if it meant facing the fury of the Scottish Highlands. But tonight that would be foolish, merely a fruitless distraction from what truly tormented him. More and more he read every word, over and over, hoping to find meaning where there seemed to be none, and urging knowledge to come to him, despite learning nothing more. Perhaps it was the heat from the fire, or maybe it was the lure of the whiskey. But as the minutes of the night turned to hours, Alistair was consumed by the notebook. As the fire crackled, Alistair's eyelids grew heavy. The room seemed to alter, the edges blurring. Suddenly, the warmth intensified, and the scent of peat smoke filled his nostrils. In what only seemed like a blink of an eye, he was whisked away to a different surrounding. He found himself inside a pub, soaked in ancient ambience. It had a hearth at one end and a long oak beam above his head. When he looked down, his clothes had also altered to suit the time period that he found himself in. He wore a kilt and a tartan he wasn't familiar with, woven with dull greens and browns that blended almost perfectly with the timber walls. Behind him was a man with grey streaks at his temples, and a presence that felt both familiar yet distant. "I recognize you and the colours of your kilt," he shouted, pointing at Alistair with a dram in the other hand. "You do?" Alistair replied. The old man nodded, with steely eyes staring through your soul. "Aye, I've watched you and felt your questions echo through the years," confirmed the old fellow. Alistair pulled up a chair and sat beside him, drawn not by command, but by something deeper. The man began. "You've seen the records, the tartans. None of it makes sense. MacLeod here, MacFarlane there. Why so many? Why all the shifts?" The man reached into a satchel and drew out 2 swatches. One burned with the sunburst yellow of MacLeod. The other held the deep, cool tones of MacFarlane. "We wore both," he said, spreading them on the table. "We moved, changed, adapted, not to deceive, but to survive." Alistair was taken aback and replied, "But doesn't that seem like betrayal to the clans of sorts?" The man didn't flinch. "No," he said, measured. "It was necessity. Our chief aligned with us an allied clan, one with enough power to shield us from the other who would swallow us whole. It wasn't disloyal. It was strategic. The more scattered we were, the more we endured." The man frowned, but the words settled like seeds in thawed soil. "So what would you say to someone like me," Alistair asked, "who doesn't know which branch to follow?" "Follow the land," the man said. "Find where your ancestors last stood, where they lived and died. The ground will whisper the name you seek. Your clan lies closest to the soil that remembers you." His voice had the weathered weight of peat and stone, and as he leaned back, his eyes softened as if recalling something older than himself. "My name is Duncan Wilson," he added after a pause, extending a hand, liver spotted but firm. "Most folk don't ask the right questions anymore. But you're listening." Alistair and Duncan left the pub together, the night air brisk and clean, edged with the scent of heather and the distant salt of the sea. The village they walked through was quiet, yet it pulsed with echoes of names once spoken, footsteps once taken, stories pressed deep into the flagstones and hedgerows. Duncan led the way, his gait uneven but unhurried, as if the path itself welcomed his return. "We're going to see Maisie," he said without looking back. "She minds the stories that folk forget, keeps them in order, you see." At the village's heart stood a cottage, aged but very much alive, its whitewashed stone walls softened by moss, its windows glowing faintly like memory-made light. The door creaked open as Duncan went in without knocking. Inside, the air was warm and smelled faintly of old parchment and peat smoke. The walls were lined from floor to ceiling with shelves, every inch filled with worn books, scrolls, and bundles of records bound in twine. Each one was meticulously labelled, organised alphabetically by family name and clan. At a desk near the hearth sat an old woman whose presence seemed to hum with the same quiet authority as the cottage itself. Her hair was the colour of ash bark, pulled back in a braid, and her eyes were the pale blue of frost-laced locks. "You've brought me another stray, Duncan," she said without looking up. "Aye," he replied, the corner of his mouth twitching into the ghost of a grin. "One who listens, though." She looked long at Alistair then, as if measuring not just the man before her, but the weight of generations behind him. "Well then," she said, reaching for a ledger worn smooth by years of use, "let's see what the land remembers of you." Maisie rose from her chair without another word and motioned for them to follow. They passed through the main room, where rows of shelves stood like quiet sentinels, every book and bundle marked with spidery script. The air was thick with the scent of vellum and wax, and time itself, a kind of stillness that made every breath feel like a borrowed moment. Each shelf was meticulously ordered, the spines labelled in a mix of Scots, Gaelic and English, surnames and clan affiliations marked with careful hands over the decades. The names read like a litany: MacDonald, Cameron, MacLeod and Fraser, each one a doorway to a life, a bloodline, a history that refused to be forgotten. They entered a narrower hall beyond the hearth room, where the walls closed in slightly and the ceiling sloped inward under the eaves. Here the records grew even older. Leather-bound tomes, scrolls wrapped in linen, sealed pouches of letters tied in faded tartan ribbon. Maisie ran her fingers along the spines, murmuring softly. Then she stopped. "Here," she said, tapping a thick ledger near the centre of the third shelf from the floor. "This is where your people will be." She pulled the book down, cradling it as one might hold something fragile and irreplaceable. The pages crackled softly as she turned them, the ink faded but legible. A dance of names, dates, births and deaths, woven with the steadiness of a long memory. Surname? She asked without looking up. Wilson. Alistair Wilson, he replied, the words sticking a little in his throat. She nodded, turning with care until her finger settled halfway down the page. Wilson, she said, from the braes near Strathmore. Not a large branch, but an old one. You'll want to look at this. She passed him the book, open to a page that bore the names Wilson, dating back to the early 1700s. Some were marked as crofters, others as soldiers. A few bore notes beside them in a different hand, lost to famine, to war, or to emigration. She stepped aside to let him see for himself. Your name is here. The line runs straight, near unbroken. The land you were told to follow. It's more than metaphor, lad. It's a call to remember. Alistair traced his finger down the list, stopping at a name, Owen Wilson, 1821 to 1891. A soldier, a father, buried at Kilchumin. The silence hung thick, not empty, but full like the hush in a glen before a storm, or the pause between generations, as one finally meets the gaze of another. Alistair stared at the name on the page. Owen Wilson, inked in that old, careful hand. Something about the way the letters curved felt familiar, almost like an echo passed down through bone and blood. He didn't speak at first, just let the silence fill the room while his eyes traced the dates again and again, as though the truth might change if he looked too long. Maisie's voice was quieter now, but steady. There's more. She flipped the page gently, revealing a short note scrawled in the margin. Barely legible, but clear enough. Son of Doncott Wilson, born of Wilson line by fosterage, settled near Loch Moy, took his mother's name for protection during the clearances. Alistair blinked, then read it again and again. "Dunkert Wilson?" he asked, his voice low. Maisie only nodded, then glanced toward the doorway. Duncan stood there, hands in his pockets, his face unreadable. But there was a softness in his eyes now. Not surprise, not even pride. Just a quiet, weathered sort of peace. "Aye," Duncan said at last. "That would be me." Alistair looked at him, words stuck behind the tide of emotion rising in his chest. He felt suddenly untethered and anchored all at once, as if the ground beneath him had shifted, only to reveal firmer soil below. "You knew?" Alistair asked. "I had a feeling," Duncan replied. "Didn't want to push it. Better you find it yourself. That's how these things stay true." Alistair turned back to the book. There was his name, connected by a thin but unbroken thread to the man standing behind him. Not just a stranger in a pub. Not just a voice speaking of land and memory, but blood, kin. "It's strange," Alistair murmured. "I've spent so long trying to trace a line I couldn't see. And all the while, part of it was standing right in front of me." Duncan stepped closer, placing a hand on the young man's shoulders. "That's how family often finds us," he said, "in its own time." Maisie, already turning to return the book to its place, paused and looked back. "The land remembers," she said softly. "But so do we, when we're ready." They stepped out of the cottage into the still night, the door easing shut behind them with a softened thud. The village was hushed, its cobbled paths lit only by a flickering lantern near the square, and the faint sheen of starlight on rooftops. A breeze stirred the heather at the edge of the path, brushing past as though the land itself had been listening. Alistair held the memory of the book close. Not just the names, but the way the ink curved around his history like roots in soil. He felt different now, Not transformed, exactly, but clearer, like a window long fogged over had been wiped clean. He glanced at Duncan, who walked a step behind, slower now. There was more in that book, Alistair said. Duncan didn't answer at first, then gave a small nod. Aye, you saw it? A chief, Alistair continued, barely above a whisper. Muircheartaigh Wilson, 17th century. His name was in bold ink, marked with a crest beside it. The last to hold land openly before it was taken, Duncan said. He held out longer than most. Didn't sign to the crown until the stone was already cracking beneath his feet. And I'm a descendant from him? You are, Duncan replied, without flourish. But don't let that be a crown on your head. Let it be ground beneath your feet. What you do with it is what matters now. They walked a few more paces in silence, until they reached a rise just outside the village. From there, the land opened wide. Dark hills folded into one another like ancient hands, and beyond them, the glint of lochs that had watched generations pass. Alistair took a deep breath. The air here tasted like moss and old rain. I've always felt like I was searching for something I couldn't name, he said. Duncan looked at him then, not with instruction, but with something steadier, recognition. You weren't searching, he said. You were remembering. It just took time for the remembering to reach you. Alistair looked out across the land, and for the first time, he felt it looking back. The stars wheeled silently overhead as the two men stood on the rise, the land stretching out before them like a living map. Somewhere in the hills beyond, the remnants of Muircheartaigh. Wilson's holding still clung to the earth, not as stone or ruin perhaps, but as memory, soil, and the pulse of the place. Alistair stayed there a while after Duncan had gone back, the older man offering no instruction, no farewell, just a clasp on the shoulder, the kind that said, "You know what to do now." When he finally turned back toward the village, it was with the sense that he was walking not away from the past, but towards it. The world around him began to whisk around him again. Alistair was sat back at his Chesterfield chair, with the tartan resting on the back, fingers resting lightly on the old notebook. The scribbled names of ancestors before him no longer felt like an old notebook full of scribbles. Now it felt like a living thing. A map not only of bloodlines, but of choices, migrations, and resilience. The notebook was now filled with answers, and something you could now call a family tree. Names filled in, connections confirmed, lines traced all the way back to Muircheartaigh Wilson, Chief of the Braes. When it came to adding Duncan, it felt honourable, and that he had helped complete the tree. Duncan wasn't just as an ancestor, but as a man he had spoken with, laughed with, and walked beside. Alistair learnt the clan wasn't just about survival, but more than that. It's belonging. It's the stories at the fire. Alliances had to be made, names changed, feuds set aside not out of betrayal, but out of necessity. When the wind howled and the laird's coffers were near empty, survival asked hard things of honour. A man might take up the badge of another clan, not to shame his blood, but to shield it. And as Alistair stared into the fireplace, just crackling, only a faint glow left, it was quite clear to him then that the embers of the past do certainly remember. And as you feel yourself getting comfortable, we will now do a countdown together. With each number, you will sink deeper and deeper into relaxation. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are completely relaxed. Let your eyes grow heavy and allow yourself to drift as you listen to my voice. Think of rain and its soft, insistent whisper against a window pane. It's a sound that pulls you inward, a sound that invites stillness. You've dimmed the lights, drawn the curtains, and settled into your favourite armchair. A warm blanket is draped over your legs, and a cup of tea sits steaming on the table beside you. Everything is prepared for this moment. A moment of quiet reconnection with yourself. Close your eyes. Just for a moment, shut out the world outside. Let all of the visual noise fade away, replaced by the gentle darkness behind your eyelids. Don't try to control your thoughts. Just observe them, like clouds drifting across the vast expanse of a summer sky. Let them float by, without judgment, without clinging. Now take a big, deep breath. Inhale slowly, deeply, feeling the air fill your lungs, expanding your chest. Hold it for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now exhale slowly, releasing the tension held within your body. Feel your shoulders drop, your jaw relax. Repeat this 3 more times. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, slowly releasing. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And exhale, a gentle letting go. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold. Before exhale, complete relaxation. With each breath, you sink deeper into your chair, deeper into yourself. The weight of the day begins to lift. The anxieties and worries softening around the edges. Now we begin a slow and methodical scan of your body. Bring your awareness to your toes. Feel the gentle pressure of your socks, the soft texture of the bedding beneath them. Notice any sensations, any tingling, any warmth or coolness. There's no need to change anything. Simply observe. Move your awareness up your feet. Feel the bones within your feet, the muscles and tendons. Imagine them softening, releasing any tightness. With each breath, your feet become heavier, more relaxed. Continue to move your awareness upward to your ankles, your calves, your knees. Feel the support of the bed beneath your thighs. Notice any tension in your hips, and with a gentle exhale, allow it to dissipate. Your breath is your anchor. Whenever your mind wanders, gently guide it back to your breath, to the sensations in your body. Now, focus on your stomach. Feel the gentle rise and fall with each inhalation and exhalation. Let go of any holding, any bracing. Allow your stomach to be soft and relaxed. Imagine a warm, golden light filling your abdomen, soothing and calming. Move your awareness up to your chest. Feel the rise and fall of your breath, the gentle expansion and contraction. Let your heart be open and receptive. Repeat to yourself, softly, silently, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of peace. Feel the muscles in your back, along your spine. Imagine each vertebra loosening, releasing any tension that may live within. Visualize a warm wave washing over your back, melting away any aches or pains. Bring your awareness to your hands now. Feel the weight of them resting in your lap. Notice any subtle sensations in your fingertips. Imagine a gentle energy flowing through your hands, healing and revitalizing. Wiggle your fingers slightly, just to acknowledge them. Move your awareness up to your arms and then to your shoulders. Notice if they are tense. Gently roll your shoulders back and down, releasing any tightness at all. Repeat to yourself, I release all tension. I am safe. I am at peace. Feel the weight of your neck supporting your head. Gently tilt your head from side to side, releasing any stiffness. Now imagine a warm stream of water flowing down your neck, washing away any stress. Now bring your focus onto your face. Relax your jaw. Unclench your teeth. Soften your forehead. Release the tension around your eyes. Let your eyebrows unfurrow, allowing your face to be smooth and serene. Repeat to yourself, I am calm. I am relaxed. I am at ease. Now feel the gentle air on your skin and take note of any subtle sounds around you. Any rain, whispering traffic, a ticking clock, the sounds of your breath. Allow these sounds to become part of your experience, without judgment, without resistance. You are safe. You are grounded. You are present in this moment. Now we will do a countdown. And after the countdown, and with each number, you will sink deeper and deeper into relaxation. feeling the weight of your body in your bed, sinking deeper, relaxing more. 9. Your breath is slow and steady, calming and soothing. 8. Your muscles are soft and relaxed, releasing all tension. 7. Your mind is quiet and still, peaceful and clear. 6. You are safe and secure, surrounded by love and support. 5. You are letting go of all worries and anxieties, allowing yourself to be present. 4. You are embracing the peace and tranquility within you, feeling centered and grounded. 3. You are drifting into a state of deep relaxation, feeling lighter and more carefree. 2. You are surrendering to the moment, allowing yourself to be carried away on a wave of peace. 1. You are completely relaxed, deeply at peace, and at one with yourself. In this state of deep relaxation, repeat these affirmations to yourself, silently, spoken in your mind or aloud, whichever feels most comfortable. I am strong. I am capable. I can handle anything that comes my way. I am worthy of love, respect, and happiness. I am grateful for all the blessings in my life. I am forgiving of myself and others. I am open to receiving all of the good that the universe has to offer. I am healthy, vibrant, and full of energy. I am confident in my abilities and talents. I am beautiful inside and out. I am at peace with myself and the world around me. I am loved. I am safe. I am enough. Continue to repeat these affirmations or any others that resonate with you, allowing them to sink deep into your subconscious mind. Believe in them. Feel them. And know them to be true, because they are. You are a beautiful, amazing, and powerful being. You are capable of anything you set your mind to. You are worthy of all of the good things in life. Stay in this state of deep relaxation for as long as you like. There is no rush. Allow yourself to drift, to dream, to simply be. Imagine the rain as it continues its gentle lullaby against the window pane. A soothing soundtrack to your inner peace. Always remember that you can return to this place of relaxation any time you need it. It is always within you, waiting to be discovered. As the rain continues its gentle song, you drift further, closer to sleep. The soft blankets inviting a deep and replenishing night. You are safe. You are calm. You are loved. And as you feel yourself getting comfortable, we will now do a countdown together. With each number, you will sink deeper and deeper into relaxation. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,